Welcome back to the Common Fan Podcast and GBR as always, fellow Common fans. I am TJ Burkle alongside Matty Owens Sr. and Geoff in Lincoln. Guys, things are happening here at the Common Fan Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We could not be more excited to announce a new partnership with Certified Piedmontese Beef. The fine folks at Certified Piedmontese have heard the voice of the Common Fan, and they have come a running, boys. Now, we're just kicking off this partnership, but we've already had a chance to sample some certified Piedmontese beef products, and let me tell you, it is top notch. They've got the best steaks, they've got ribs, roasts, kebabs, delicious ground beef for your burger night. They've got seasonings and snacks. I don't know about you guys, my kids love the beef sticks. You can't go wrong with any of the options at CP Beef. What's more, Certified Piedmontese Beef is a Nebraska-raised product, grazing vast pasture land in the Sandhills region of Nebraska. It's premium Nebraska beef that all Husker fans can be proud of. It's featured at the training table for all UNL athletes, and they've been fueling the Husker football team for years. And now they're fueling the Common Fan Podcast, and there's no reason for any Common Fan to miss out on this fantastic homegrown product. For those of you like Matt and Jeff in Lincoln or Omaha, all certified Piedmontese products can be found at your local Mercado butcher shop, where you can get the freshest cuts, hot food to go, and gift boxes and gift cards. There are two locations in Lincoln, one at 30th and Yankee Hill next to Tanner's, the other on 84th and Havelock in the same building as the Casa Bovina restaurant. There's one location in Omaha at 162nd and Maple next to Oscar's Wings. You can also check out cpmercato.com. That's cpmercato.com for the latest deals and menu items at your local store. And the great thing is, guys, if you live in another part of Nebraska or you live out of state like me, you can have certified Piedmontese products shipped right to your front door via cpbeef.com. cpbeef.com offers free shipping on any order over $150 across all 50 states, fellas. It's a fantastic option for a gift idea, or of course, for anyone who wants a taste of real Nebraska beef delivered right to your front door. That sounds particularly appealing after some of the weather we've had lately, gents, just to be able to order from your couch. And, you know, I was thinking, guys, college football is still over 7 months away, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy a game day experience while drinking that off-season Kool-Aid. Get yourself your favorite steak, maybe get some ribs. They even have beef brats, beef bacon, all the beef, Common fans. Fire up that grill, make your favorite meal with premium CP beef products. Turn on the Common Fan Podcast, of course. Pour a glass of Big Red Kool-Aid, and you've got yourself a night. So check out your local Mercado butcher shop or visit cpbeef.com for premium Nebraska beef, fueling the Husker football team and fueling the Common Fan Podcast.
Yes.
I never thought that there would be a company that could get me to betray my allegiance to a good jalapeno Slim Jim, but Mercado and the certified Piedmontese did that.
Oh,
they did.
God.
They did just that. That's not surprising to me, Jeff.
You got some of the weirdest food takes in the history of mankind, Jeff.
I was going to say, did you guys see I think we might have made it, guys. Did you see Joe Rogan was firing up some of those tomahawk certified Piedmontese on Instagram?
Yeah.
Joe,
absolutely.
Joe, if you're listening, Joe, hey, it's us and you now, guy.
Us and Joe. Us and Joe Rogan.
Top of the mountain. We did it.
But we're truly grateful to the folks at Certified Piedmontese and very excited about this partnership. So
absolutely,
there will be more to come from the Common fans as it pertains to CP beef. But
and hey, you know, I was thinking also their restaurant out on 84th and Lincoln, Casa Bovina. Valentine's Day's coming up, guys.
Ooh,
I think that'd be a great place to take your lady friend, your girlfriend or your wife. Just
100%.
wonderful restaurant. I know Matt Rule loves the place.
Yeah.
Have been told by many friends they've seen him there. So
Well,
just a great all around organization, Certified Piedmontese.
that's a great idea too, Matteo, because I've always believed that Valentine's Day is a made up holiday invented to get people
Oh God.
to spend money.
Oh
But
no.
so I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna walk
No,
myself off a
Mrs.
cliff
Owens.
here.
Oh, I hope Mrs. Owens doesn't hear that.
I'm
She
not
hates
gonna
that
walk
take.
myself off a cliff here. So what I think all common fans can appreciate is the experience of a lovely night out
Mhm.
to someplace like Casa Bovina. So you're still spending money on your gal. You're having a nice experience together, but you're not wasting money at stupid tchotchkes at Hallmark. Am I right, boys?
Yes.
I hear you.
All right.
100%. The
I
one
mean,
thing I will
is that going to get me in trouble with Mrs.
Well,
Owens?
no. Nobody needs stupid tchotchkes. I mean,
come on, Owens. We all
as
know
far as
every man does their shopping at Walgreens for Valentine's
Walgreens
Day.
on the way home from
We all
work
know
on
this.
Valentine's Day.
Sorry,
Do
Catherine.
you have flowers here?
Do you have the little teddy bear in a different shade of brown?
So that's kind of a funny story too, because like when me and Ashley got engaged, like my original plan was I was gonna, pick a random day out of nowhere, and the ring was like burning a hole in my pocket, and it just happened to be Valentine's Day, and I'm like, no, I can't be that guy. I refuse to have that be that guy. So I waited until I think like 12:15 on the 15th, like after we got home from dinner and everything. So I'm technically we didn't get engaged on Valentine's Day, and I'm sticking to that. So for anybody listening, the 14th did not count. If it's after midnight, it's not Valentine's Day anymore, and I will die on that hill.
Okay.
Wow. I mean, that was really moving, Jeff.
I'm just telling you, it doesn't count as
I mean,
Valentine's Day.
it seems like
Does not
something you
count.
kind of generated in your own head, but that's fine. It's
I
totally
talked my
fine.
way into it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. You got engaged on Valentine's Day. It's fine.
Yeah.
No,
I did not get engaged on Valentine's Day.
this is a judgment-free zone.
Thanks.
No, no judgment on the Common Fan Podcast, as we established on episode 1.
Yes.
Fellas, I don't know. Did any of you catch any glimpses, or actually, it was on TV? It was on the NFL Network. Did you guys catch any of the Polynesian Bowl, which took place on Saturday evening?
No.
Did not sit and watch it, but saw some of the highlights from it.
Yeah.
More particularly the Dylan Raiola and Carter Nelson.
So as a common fan, again, don't really follow the high school athlete highlights. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I'll be completely honest on this one. I had no idea what the Polynesian Bowl was when this first got brought up. So
Well, I
Well,
think
Jeff,
it's newer.
I learned a
think
little
it's
bit.
newer. It's
Yeah.
it's a newer high school all-star game.
Yeah,
I know
it's
that.
a-
It's not
yeah,
that old.
yeah, it's an annual high school all-star football game held at Aloha Stadium on Oahu every January.
and that's in Hawaii.
That's in Hawaii,
Hawaii.
Jeff. I'm with you. I've not traditionally sat down and watched these games. I usually don't have time to do that sort of thing in the off season. But again, with all of the off-season hype, especially surrounding the one and only Dylan Raiola, I was definitely following on social media. And the game features, as far as I can gather, many of the top high school seniors in the country. This year, there were 3 Husker commits: Raiola, Carter Nelson of Ainsworth, Nebraska, and Preston Taumua, I believe is how you pronounce that. Who's an interior offensive lineman from Hawaii. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
No, my question there is right. Just the numbers you said. Is that a lot? Like, did Nebraska? Is that a lot for one school to show up in this, or did we dominate that, or like is that pretty normal?
I think
one
that's pretty
school
good.
has.
I mean, for us, I think that's good. I think usually these high school all-star games, you'll have I'm sure you have like multiple guys from Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State.
Right.
For us, that doesn't happen very often.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. And it's especially solid when you consider the performance that these guys put up. So Raiola led all quarterbacks with 111 passing yards. He also threw for a touchdown. Nelson led all receivers with 65 receiving yards. Did you guys see that clip? There was like a beautiful connection with Raiola on like a seam route.
Yeah.
It was a beautifully thrown ball.
Was it like 72 yards? Is that what it was? Something like
I
that?
don't think it was quite that long.
Well, actually, we'll come back to that, Jeff.
Yeah.
That was,
I know what you're thinking of, Jeff.
But on this one, it was kind of like Raiola to Carter in the seam, and then Carter just looks so like such a natural, fluid runner once he has the ball in his hands.
He does.
So that's something we talked about this before. I really think he's going to see the field, you guys, and as a true freshman. Maybe that's just 4 games, you know, maybe that's just 4 games, but and to preserves the red shirt. But I think what I love about it is the guy was playing 8-man football as of, you know, a few months ago. And this was the second of these bowls he's done in January. We'll talk about that in a minute, and has shown out really well in both of them against the best high school, you know, against the best of his peers in the country.
Right.
So I think he's going to be just fine, you know, rolling into Lincoln and getting going with the team. You know, the other thing about the Polynesian Bowl is Raiola, Nelson, and Taumua are the number 1 recruits out of their respective states. So Raiola is the number 1 recruit out of Georgia. Carter Nelson, number 1 recruit out of Nebraska. Taumua, the number 1 recruit out of Hawaii. So, like, anytime the Huskers can be snatching the number 1 player out of any state, that's a good sign. Then they go out, they show out, they live up to the hype in the bowl game. I think that's really exciting. Jeff, what you were talking about was the first day there before the game, they were doing some competitions. And the first competition was the longest throw competition. And Raiola won it with a 72-yard throw.
Yeah, just a bomb.
My shoulder hurts just saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he just absolutely just chucked that ball. And again, Common fans, you can find there's clips of this all over social media. Find it on Twitter, find it on Facebook. But it was, I mean, he wound up and threw it. But I think that's what we've noticed about him before, guys, is like he makes these long, not all 72 yards, but he can throw the ball down the field, and it just looks effortless for him.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Just almost look like he's just flicking his wrist and it's like 50 yards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, not that the January hype train needed more gasoline.
Oh yeah.
But I think you brew up another picture of the Roulade, fellas, after this weekend. You know, back to the other point about Carter Nelson. So he also played in the Army All-American Bowl, along with, this was a few weeks ago, along with Nebraska offensive line commits Grant Bricks and Gibson Pyle. And by the way, talk about all name team. Like, so how good are those names for two offensive linemen, Grant Bricks and Gibson Pyle?
Oh yeah.
Like, welcome to Nebraska, boys.
They just sound like maulers, just absolute maulers, hog mollies. Throw in any big old offensive lineman affectionate term that you want to, they just sound like those kind of guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, Nelson stood out in both of those games. Bricks is another one. He was the number 1 recruit out of the state of Iowa, and one of the top O-line recruits in the country. And then Gibson Pyle was a top O-line recruit out of Texas. So just love to see these guys who are top recruits, you know, being selected in these games, showing well in these games. And it just gives you, you know, a belief that, you know, Coach Rule really knows what he's doing and he's really building something. And just, that made me go, I went back and looked, guys, just because with Bricks, Taumua, and Pyle in particular, and Nelson, I mean, if you count tight end, I didn't count tight ends when I looked at this, but it just made me, I wanted to go back and double check, because they are just loading up on offensive linemen. So just in the 2 recruiting classes that Coach Rule has put together so far, they had 5 high school offensive linemen in the 2023 class and 5 high school offensive linemen in the 2024 class that just wrapped up. They also had a number of transfers, both last year, and they had another one, the guy from Florida this year, that I'm not even including in those numbers. And so I think they've got an excellent mix. I mean, they got, their offensive line is seasoned and ready to go this year, but I think they've got a ton in the works that's going to get another year of seasoning, another year of, you know, reps and practice time. And it's a good mix of, there's 4 in-state guys in that group of 10. And then there's a bunch of top rated recruits from out of state as well. So just for Husker fans who have been hankering to see the pipeline come back again and see us impose our will on a team, I think the offensive line took a step forward last year. I think we expect another step or two forward this year, but you love the foundation that they're building on the O-line in particular.
Absolutely. Gotta have those big boys up front moving the line.
And it reminded me of Geoff's days on the freshman football team.
Excuse me, what?
Calling the snap count for the punt team. Right behind those big
Those are some
O-line
good
guys.
times back then, man. 95 pounds.
You weren't afraid to stick your nose in there, Geoff.
Team set, go. Team set, go. I'll never forget that. I got freaking laid out at Boys Town. I won't do the inside story stuff. It's boring for the audience. But if there was tape back then, that would be one of those hits that like would go viral on Twitter now. Just decleated by some dude 3 times the size of me.
Well, to be fair, Jeff, I don't know if your balls had dropped yet at that point in the first year of high school.
Listen here, you son of a bitch.
Well, I know your heart was in it. Like you had a Rudy size heart back then.
Oh,
Jeff,
yeah.
and you still do.
That well.
Yeah,
that's right. I retired after freshman year and decided to put my talents to where they belonged, in the stands, heckling the large players and then hiding behind my friends.
One more update, guys. Since the last time we recorded, the news is out there in the Husker Nation universe now, but we have not talked about it on the pod yet. Glenn Thomas has been hired as the new quarterbacks coach and co-offensive coordinator for the Huskers. He was most recently the quarterbacks coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he's got about 2 decades in both the NFL as both an NFL and college coach. I'll tell you why this is exciting, guys. And we did a few episodes ago, we did A New Hope. It's time to believe in Nebraska football again. And if this had happened by then, this would have been another reason we talked about for why we can go ahead and believe in Husker football again. 2 of the biggest problems last year, guys, were quarterback play, and I think the overall performance of the offense. And we certainly complained about some of the decision making and play calling. And then insert Glenn Thomas, who's going to coach the quarterbacks. Remove that from Mr. Satterfield. We've seen historically when he's not responsible for coaching the quarterbacks, his offenses tend to do better. And then I think also just a fresh set of eyes, new ideas, a different angle, a different look at things, just on the overall approach for the offense as a co-offensive coordinator. I don't know if Glenn's going to call plays or not, but got to be encouraged by the fact that once again, Coach Rule did not stand pat, and he went out and tried to improve something that wasn't good last year.
Right. And this is I was mentioning this to you guys earlier before we started recording. This has happened before with these guys. So Glenn Thomas obviously has a prior connection with Matt Rule. He was with him at Temple, and then at Baylor as well. But when the first time this happened was at Temple, apparently this was I got this from, I think, our buddy Jim in Minnesota on Twitter tweeted this out, and this is I think from another friend of the program, Zach Carpenter, from
nice.
Rivals. So apparently it's Satterfield had Ruled hired Thomas as QB's coach at Temple, and then shifted Satterfield from OCs and from OC and QBs to OC and running backs coach, then promoted Thomas to OC when Satterfield left for a Tennessee Tech head coaching gig. So between that and then just looking at numbers and things like that, and Thomas being a play caller, obviously there's rumblings of perhaps Glenn Thomas taking over play calling. I know for us on this program, we would probably be fairly excited about that. We love Coach Sat. Don't get me wrong. He's one of ours. Okay. He wears the scarlet and cream, but we would not shed a tear if Mr. Thomas took over, I think, play calling duties. At least I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think that's how we would feel.
That's a good. So that begs the question too. Would somebody like Satterfield, this would go out to all you common fans out there that maybe don't get too in depth on the coaching changes or how they move people around, but maybe you folks will know here. Does Satterfield take this as almost like a slight, like, hey, is this SOB coming for my job type thing? Like, is this an offense when you hire a co-OC? Like, kind of like on the Office Space where we're going to bring in a consultant.
Yeah.
And
And
what does that mean?
I think it's more a testament to Glenn Thomas's experience and the fact that he's probably like, look, I'm coming from the NFL. I'm not taking this job unless co-OC is part of the title. So that probably, that matters. That probably matters for how much money he's going to make. It matters for the next job he's going to get, all these things. So I would imagine, certainly if you're Satterfield, that's what you tell yourself, right?
Right.
But I would imagine it's a testament to Thomas's experience and what he's done. But I'd like to believe that Coach Rule, like, it is also the case that, whatever 100 something in the nation, whatever our offense ended up being ranked in the final numbers is not acceptable.
Sure.
And I would like to believe that you can have that conversation. Coach Rule can have that conversation with Coach Satterfield in a productive way, that it just absolutely needs to be better. And look, they inherited a team that wasn't theirs. They weren't able to fix all the roster issues. Like, there's reasons to, you can talk about why maybe it could have, would have, should have been better. But there were just some things we talked about, guys, that I think they could have done with the roster they had. So I think if you're Satterfield, you probably, maybe a little, you feeling like your shorts are too tight in your seat a little bit. If for no other reason than how your offense performed last year, I would be more concerned about my job because of how I performed my job.
Sure.
Not so much because of, it almost like, I'd be surprised if they hadn't brought somebody in and shaken up the staff a little bit,
Right. It's I agree with that. It's kind of like, you had your shot and it was terrible.
It was terrible.
So you know what, we're going to keep you on staff,
but we still love you.
But yeah, why don't you go over and coach the tight end, Sat?
He's got some good pieces to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, how hard can it be to coach Fedoni and Carter Nelson?
Carter Nelson.
But no, I think you said the thing about experience too. Like, Glenn Thomas has coached quarterbacks at a ton of places, including in the NFL. Like, he coached freaking Matt Ryan, and he coached the kid what's the kid? I can't think of the kid's name that just won the Heisman from LSU.
Jaden Daniels.
Daniels. He coached him at Arizona State. Before he transferred. So, and then he's a couple teams in the NFL, all kinds of college experience. And last time I checked, Baylor and Temple had some pretty good years with Matt Rule, when this guy was had a big hand in the offense. So I'm excited about it. I mean, I saw dude. I saw some numbers from our buddy Zach Karp that the year after, so Satterfield left Temple and Thomas took over as OC, they increased yards per game by about 50. They increased their passing yards by 20 or so, rushing yards per game by 20 or so, increased their points per game. The only thing that I wasn't a huge fan of was the turnovers. Turnovers didn't change. So hopefully that's not going to be an issue, but I think it's going to be a good thing for all of us having Mr. Thomas on board.
100%.
I just think and at least we've got something. They made enough changes between the players they brought in the transfer portal, shake up on the coaching staff, Dylan Raiola, huge piece of this. There's enough. The offense is going to be different enough that we can go ahead and have lots of reasons to hope here, right? And as we talked about many times, like, I think we all agreed the defense will be as good or even better in 2024. Just give me an average offense. Just give me like a middle of the road offense. And we win probably 7 or 8 games this year instead of 5 games.
For sure.
Right. So super exciting to think about. All right, fellas. So on to the main course for this particular episode. We've had some common fans ask us about this, and now that the dust has settled on the season, and we've got a little time in the off season here, we wanted to go ahead and look ahead to the new 12-team college football playoff, which is starting in 2024. So the expanded playoff, everyone's been talking about it for years. It was originally slated for 2026. They got an agreement with the Rose Bowl. that the Rose Bowl could go ahead and keep playing on January 1, as is its tradition. And they were able to kind of, the stars aligned basically to get this thing in place for 2024. Now, this is obviously relevant for any Husker fans, because the Nebraska Cornhuskers are a team on the ascent, boys. And we expect to be in the playoff conversation sooner rather than later. So it's just important that all common fans know all the ins and outs of the college football playoff because of the Cornhuskers, because of the performance of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and how it's about to improve drastically.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Because when people talk about playoff teams, we're going to be in that conversation.
Well, yeah. I mean,
sooner than we think.
You go 9-3 in the new Big Ten. I mean, you're a pretty damn good football team.
That's exactly right.
So you know if you're 9-3 in the Big Ten, you've got a shot at being in that conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, I think
10-2 would be better.
Consistently, though, you can assume, the Big Ten and the SEC each will have probably 3 to 4 teams representing their respective conferences in the playoffs. So that's pretty exciting to know. Like, yes, you would like to win the conference. Everyone would like to win the conference. Nebraska would like to get to the point where it's competing to win the conference. We'd like to get back to that point, but it's nice to know that you can still have a shot at being in the playoff even without winning the conference. And we're going to dive into kind of that and whether or not this is good for college football and what it all means. And, there's so many changes in college football, but let's go through. I did some research here, guys, and there was a lot I didn't know about this. So a lot of people have probably heard, some of these conversations. So let's just tick through how it's going to work first, and then we can talk about whether or not this is all good, bad, or ugly for college football. I think I know where you guys stand, but I'm excited to get into that a little bit more too. And just a reminder, this is relevant because of the Nebraska Cornhuskers and how we're going to be in the conversation for the playoff very soon. And this is important. This is very important. So pay attention.
Need to know this. You folks need to know this.
Common fans. All right. 12 teams, as we mentioned. So the playoff committee, which already exists and already produces the top 25 rankings and picks the top 4 who will be in the playoff. The College Football Playoff Committee has done that since 2014, since we started the playoff. The playoff committee will continue to select and rank these teams as they already do. So that will not change. Okay. Here's where it gets interesting, guys. The 6 highest ranked conference champions will receive automatic bids. Okay. I assume when they put this together, the thinking was, well, certainly the Power 5 conferences. Well, I mean, there's also the Group of 5 conferences. So in theory, you could have Group of 5 conference champions who are rated higher than, the Pac-12 champion or the Big Ten champion or something like that. But I think that will almost never happen. And so I think the thinking here was you'd have, this was a way to get one Group of 5 school in. So you'd have all 5 Power 5 conference champions, and then the highest ranked Group of 5 school would be number 6. So that would add up to your 6 highest ranked conference champions. I don't know, and I was not able to find, but I'll be really interested to see how the Pac-12 is treated.
Yes.
So, I mean, technically, are Oregon State and Washington State going to argue that they're still the Pac whatever, and they're still a major conference, and one of those 2 schools could qualify for the playoff? I don't know how that's going to work. Or conversely, will this be a thing where the winner of the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, and Big 12 all get in, and then there's 2 Group of 5 schools that get in. So 2 Liberty type schools that get in.
Well, that's right? what's interesting about this realignment stuff with the Pac-12 is can we even consider them a Power 5 conference anymore? I don't know if we can. I don't know how that can be, if they can be defined as one of those anymore.
Right.
So
it's going to be really interesting how that plays out. But as somebody who's been a fervent Pac-12 After Dark watcher over the years, there's a little bit of sadness. There's a little bit of sadness for me, but anyhow.
But this is interesting, guys. So just for frame of reference, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in the analysis piece, but Oklahoma was the number 12 team this year. So Liberty would have taken their place in the playoff as the sixth highest. So there was the winners of the 5 Power 5 conferences, and Liberty was the next highest rated conference champion of the group of 5 schools. They would have taken Oklahoma's place. So just as a frame of reference, that's how it would work. So the remaining 6 teams will be at large bids determined by the CFP rankings. Okay. So again, the assumption is, I think at least of the Power 5 schools, those 5 conference champions will be among your top 12, but you could have then your group of 5 champions supplanting one of those other 6 teams, one of the at-large teams that otherwise would have made it. Okay. So the top 4 seeds, so you'll have 1 through 12 seeds, right? The top 4 seeds will receive a first round bye. Those will be reserved for the highest ranked conference champions. So again, I guess there's a scenario where one of your top 4 teams would not be a conference champion. In that case, they don't get a bye. It's your top 4 conference champions. Interestingly, Geoff, and I'm not saying this to rub it in your face.
I know what you're going. I know where you're going with this.
This was a point that was made in multiple articles that I read, and maybe even on the NCAA website that I was looking at too. But Notre Dame, and no other independent for that matter, but at present Notre Dame would probably have the best chance. Notre Dame can never get a first round bye.
Yeah, good. They don't need it.
Because they won't have played in a conference championship game. They won't be a conference champion because they have stubbornly and, in my opinion, foolishly held on to this whole independent thing for much too long. And so really it's coming back to bite them. Look, I don't make the rules. It's neither here nor there.
We don't need the bye, TJ.
I want to make sure all common fans understand all the rules here. And that's one of the rules. So the buys go to the top 4. The top 4 seeds receive a first round bye, and that's reserved for the highest ranked conference champions. So that will not include Notre Dame ever.
Good. Those snobs over in South Bend. We don't need a conference.
All right. So first round games. It's the 5 seed through the 12 seed play in those games. So 5 plays the 12 seed, 6 seeds plays the 11 seed, and so on. This is one of the things I love, guys. First round games will be played at the higher seeded team's home field. Now, according to the NCAA website, the higher seeded team can also designate another location. So I guess Wisconsin could pick Lambeau Field if it was available or something like that. I don't know why a team would do that.
Yeah.
If you're in the playoff and you can play that playoff game at home, I don't know why you would do anything else. So I don't expect to see that very often. But guys, how awesome is it going to be to have playoff games?
Oh my God.
On college campuses.
Oh yeah.
In December.
Yep.
I mean, the atmosphere is going to be electric.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I remember when we used to lose to Miami in the Orange Bowl and Florida State.
Or Florida State.
And we're like, what? How great would it be if they could come play us at our home stadium? Because we used to play Miami in the Orange Bowl in their home stadium.
Yep.
And I remember always thinking God, I would love to get a crack at them in December or January at Memorial Stadium.
Especially when it's 15 degrees out.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm going to try to keep folks informed on the schedule as well, just to kind of have a frame of reference for when these things happen. So think about it this way: the last weekend of the regular season is Thanksgiving weekend always, right? Yep. So the following weekend, first weekend in December, is conference championship weekend. Okay. So then in 2024, these dates will change every year depending on the calendar, but it'll be roughly this time frame. In 2024, first round games will take place on December 20th and 21st. Okay. So again, man, all right. Well, maybe I should wait. Maybe we should just get through this breakdown before I talk about how awesome this is.
Yeah.
But just thinking about heading into Christmas week, having all these playoff games to watch, and that doesn't even count all the New Year's Day bowls. Okay. All right. So after the first round games, then we move on to the quarterfinal. You still have 8 teams left, right? Okay. So you 4 winners from the first round plus the 4 teams that had buys. Okay. Now the quarterfinal games will be played at the major bowl sites on New Year's Day. Occasionally there will be a New Year's Eve because of how the calendar falls, how the schedule works. But basically, these are your traditional New Year's Day bowls. And what's cool from here, guys, is from this point on, all 6 of the major bowls, so Rose, Sugar, Fiesta, Orange, Cotton, and Peach, all of those bowls will have a role in the college football playoff every year. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's take a look at 2024. In 2024, the quarterfinals will be as follows: the Fiesta Bowl on December 31st, and then the Peach Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl on January 1st. Okay. So that's the quarterfinals. Then the semifinals will be the Orange Bowl on January 9th and the Cotton Bowl on January 10th. Again, this is the 2024, so into 2025's schedule. But it'll be roughly this kind of, about a week and a half, 2 weeks in between games, every year like this. So you got all 6 bowls involved. And these will rotate over the years. Now, I will say, at least we only have the schedule for 24 and 25. The Rose and Sugar remain on January 1 for both 24 and 25. And I think that was a sticking point for the Rose Bowl. They wanted to keep their traditional slot on New Year's Day. So that'll stay as a quarterfinal game. I don't think they really care because it'll still be, fantastic environment, New Year's Day Bowl, et cetera. But you kind of get a sense here of how the traditional major bowls factor into the new playoff system. I just absolutely love this, guys. I mean, I remember talking about years ago when everybody said we need to have a playoff, we always said, like, people would say, what do you do with the bowl games? We always said the major bowls can still be where you play these games, and you can still have the other bowls for the lesser teams that just want to have one more game. There's no reason you can't, continue to factor this stuff in for how it works.
Yeah. It feels good because it just gives them meaning again. We talked about this before, like, just after the regular season gets over, if you're not in the playoff with 4 teams, just most of those games just don't mean as much to the players anymore. So it's nice to see some of these Rose Bowl games, Fiesta Bowls, Peach Bowls, Cotton Bowls, just, for lack of a better term, just people give a damn about them again, which is kind of awesome. So I'm pumped.
And I think we've talked about this a little bit too, is you'll have less guys opting out of playing in the bowl games.
Well, for
I
sure.
mean, if you've got 12 teams, 12 of the best teams in the country, with really truly something to play for, a national title chance, like, there's going to be guys saying, no, I'm not, they're going to play. And what will be interesting though is the coaching thing, like with coaches moving, and now with the early signing day, the way the early signing day falls with now basically being the first round of the college football playoff. That's going to be something that's interesting to me. Like, if certain teams are going to fire a coach, or somebody's going to get pulled from somewhere, like, how's that going to play out? Like some big school, like Nick Saban retiring, that kind of puts a wrench in things. Like, if they're in the playoff and he's waiting until the end of the playoff, you're looking at maybe not hiring his replacement until mid-January, or look at what's happening in Alabama. These kids that are all committed to Alabama are now transferring because Saban's gone, or changing their commitment to somewhere else. That could be the one. Like, I love this. I love the playoff, but that could be one thing to see how that plays out with these coaches jumping ship and going to different schools around this time of year.
I think one thing we know from history, if history has taught us anything, it's that this will continue to evolve and change, right? Or sure. other rules and calendars will adapt to change to the playoff schedule, right? One other interesting thing here, guys, about those New Year's Day bowls for the quarterfinals is the highest seeded teams get to pick where they go. So the number 1 team gets to say, hey, I want to go to the Rose Bowl. And then that one's off the map. So then the number 2 seed gets to pick where they want to go. Number 3 seed gets to pick where they want to go. And then number 4 team gets to pick where they want to go. So that's kind of cool too, where you'll have these first round games, and then there'll be, what is that, about, is it even 10 days? December 20th and 21st. It's less than 10 days, or about 10 days. And so then you got to pivot, and the higher seeded teams then get to choose which bowl games they want to play in. And then I don't know, it's fascinating to me. That was kind of interesting to me, that you're not going to know who's playing in the Rose Bowl until less than 2 weeks before the game actually happens, as well as these other major bowls. So one more thing to tie this all together, guys. So again, sticking with the 2024 schedule into January of 25. So you've got the semifinal games. Again, like I said, Orange Bowl on January 9th, which is a Thursday, Cotton Bowl on January 10th, which is a Friday. And then you've got the CFP national championship game on a Monday again, which is just stupid.
Yeah.
But it'll be on Monday, January 20th. So for now, at least the championship, the final game will remain on a Monday in January at a neutral site. So, like you said, Matteo, I love almost all of this. I think you called for an act of Congress in one of our previous episodes
Yes.
to ensure that the college football final is played on a Saturday. That certainly seems
Yeah.
appropriate. It's something better than a Monday. I mean,
Yeah.
Anything.
like
And
anything other
they're
than that.
they're going to be up against the NFL playoffs too, so when you're going that late into January for the college football national championship, I mean, it's January, we're recording on January 21st right now.
Okay.
There's playoff games yesterday, there's playoff games today, so I'm sure they don't want to go up against that, but like,
so let's think about this though. Today's Sunday, January 21st. So yeah, so the playoff game is on Monday, January 20th in 2025.
mm-hmm.
So yesterday there were two games, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was an afternoon game and an evening game. So why don't you pick that Saturday of that same time frame, that same weekend, especially now that it's getting pushed another week and a half later than it has been. Pick that Saturday where there's two NFL playoff games and have the college football playoff game be the big noon game, right?
Yeah.
So it's noon
Gotcha.
Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, it's 9 a.m. Pacific, but I don't know, maybe if it ends up being hosted in California, you don't want it as a 9 a.m. kickoff.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
they want it in prime. They'll want it in prime time.
Right. Exactly right. Because I mean, nobody,
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
especially on the West
Or-
Coast, like early morning
But-
game.
Or
All
make it a
these-
Friday night game before the
Yeah.
big NFL playoff games. I don't know.
Right.
Just Monday night. We talked about this before. You might have it on in the background, but your kids are back to school. Christmas break is
Yeah.
over.
You're
Unless
not
your
as
team,
focused on it.
if my team's in it, okay, I'm taking Tuesday off. I'm telling the kids we're going to be late to school tomorrow. Like that's a different story. But until
Mhm.
that happens,
Right.
you're not having people over. You're not getting together with friends. You might have it on just to have it on, but it's just not
Yep.
the same.
Yeah, all these great, cool changes, and then we just still gotta just schlep it out with this Monday night crap.
Yeah, right. So that's the format, guys, and that's kind of the schedule. I laid out the schedule for 2024. 2025 will follow the same format. Again, I would imagine we will continue to see tweaks. Even when
Yeah.
we had the BCS, they continued to tweak the formula. I think just about every year they made some tweaks to the formula. So I'm sure things will get kind of moved around, and then who knows what continues to happen with conference
Right.
realignment and all these other factors going into college football. It's rapidly changing. We should stress that it's probably, this isn't going to stop all of these other big dynamic changes that are happening across the sport, some of which we don't love, right? Probably, but so let's discuss this for a minute, guys. I know there are a lot of, I think, I don't want to speak for you guys. I think I would have considered myself a college football traditionalist in a lot of ways, but as things continue to change and evolve, I find myself being excited about more and more of them than not.
Mhm.
But we'd love to hear what you guys think about this expanded playoff. But I guess here's the way I would say it: there are things about the college football of our past, the college football that we grew up with, that have gone away, that are going away, that are likely never coming back, and that's sad. Like that's
Yeah.
unfortunate. The conferences, the regional rivalries.
Yeah.
Some of the money is completely taken over, and some of these things are regrettable. But if you have a seat at one of the big boy conferences, and you've got speaking out both sides of my mouth now, you got the Big Ten money coming in every year, and you can build great facilities, and you can afford to have the top rate everything, right? And you're going to be competing for a spot in the playoff or you're going to be potentially eligible for a spot in the playoff every year. There's a lot to be excited about here.
Absolutely. I'm with you. Like I still like think back fondly of like the Big 8 days, right? Like playing Kansas and Kansas State and Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. But you just got to adapt. Like there's still the beauty of college football. We still have the bands, we still have the students and the fans, and the fight songs are still all the same. I've said this before on the pod, like I love rivalry games. Like as long as we can keep some of those rivalries going, even if teams aren't in the same conference anymore, then I'm all for these changes. I even think why stop at 12 teams? I'd like to see it go to 16.
Thank you.
So any more than that, I think is too much. But
Yeah.
Sometimes teams get hot. Like I remember, I think last year, like Utah was playing just about as good as anybody in the country. Like I would have loved to see them play, some of the top dogs in a playoff. So I think 16 would be great, but like this, even with 12, like this sounds way better than like the coaches poll and the AP poll. Here's what here's who's number 1 and 2.
Here's what the computer said.
I mean, even like thinking back is not that long. Like we're old enough to remember like where like number 1 and 2 didn't even play each other in a bowl game. Like, and it still got voted on at the end of the year, hence our alleged shared title with Michigan in 97, which if I remind all the common fans out there, we did get the cooler trophy out of that deal.
We absolutely would have rolled that Michigan team, and everyone knows it.
Absolutely would have. But this is like a huge, huge step forward. I mean, four-team playoff was fine. It's better than what we had, but now I think this is going to be absolutely fantastic. I mean, basically a month of college football playoffs.
Meaningful college football.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes. It's just
meaningful.
Sounds completely and totally erotic. Like gets the blood pumping.
Yeah.
Just think about this. Like it's already great, but like starting on conference championship weekend, and then we have that, and then now it's like, okay, everyone take a breather, and then we'll have a few playoff games and a bunch of bowls, and it'll be great. And it is great already, but that's just going to be just the start. Then a couple of weeks later, we're going to have these on-campus playoff games right before Christmas.
Oh yeah,
Christmas will come early. Then we're going to have the New Year's Day bowls, all meaningful playoff games, and then into January to kind of ease the pain of getting back to reality after the holidays. We'll still have meaningful college football games. Yes, exactly. It's going to be so great. I'm so excited about it. Geoff, you look like you have something to say. I have a couple of points to make, but you look like
I'm pumped. I am pumped. And what Owens brought up before was exactly what I was going to say is 12's awesome. I'd love to see it go to 16 because I don't know about you guys. Actually, I do know about you guys. March Madness is arguably one of the best things about college sports, and filling out a bracket is awesome. I feel like it's a good way also of like getting like kids and significant others and more people to watch football. Is like, can you imagine having like a quote unquote like kind of like March Madness in December and January of filling out like a college football bracket?
I can't imagine.
I think that would
can't imagine it.
Expand that. Like if they made that bigger, I think that would be the funnest thing ever. Like inject that into my veins. Just a March Madness bracket pick'em for college football. It would be so awesome.
And I think you're already going to see that with 12. I think you're right, but yeah, the more the merrier. I totally agree.
I'm not smart enough to know this, but like, how many teams are in do they start the FCS playoffs with? Like who like how many teams make the FCS playoffs?
Isn't it like it's at least 16? It might be 32.
I was thinking 32, but I don't know for sure. But
yeah,
I mean, they've been doing that really well for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. But again, I'm totally happy with 12.
Yeah.
One of my big, like college football is so great. And it's always been so great. There's very little to complain about. But one of my biggest complaints with college football, you just kind of hinted at, we just talked about it, is these things have never traditionally been settled on the field. Like even in 94, we were the clear-cut national champion, but Penn State was undefeated. And didn't Tom Osborne and Paterno like have a conversation about, hey, let's meet up in a week or two and play this game? And then they realized that was going to be too complicated. That might be some legendary, story that's not real. But I'm pretty sure there's something to that. Anyway, point being, like you said, Matt, it was always the coaches and the writers voting. And then we thought, well, with the BCS, at least we'll get 1 versus 2 on the same field. But there was still controversy because
number 3 thought they were number 2.
And the very first year when Nebraska got unexpectedly steamrolled by Colorado, and then we didn't even play in our own conference championship game, and then we still got to go to the national championship game.
Yeah.
So there was already controversy out of the chute with that. And then now we've had the playoff, and it's helped with some of that, I think. I mean, I think, honestly, this year was maybe one of the more contentious years with both
For sure.
Florida State
Yep.
feeling like they had a case, Georgia feeling like they had a case.
Mhm.
But with 12 teams, I mentioned Liberty. If the 12-team playoff had been this year, Liberty would have supplanted, and they would have gotten steam. I see that look on your face, Matt. They would have gotten
Yeah.
steamrolled, let's be clear, but they would have supplanted Oklahoma as the number 12 seed. Maybe that's not fair to Oklahoma, but I don't think anyone would be sitting around saying, "Oh, I think that Oklahoma team could have made a run. I think that Oklahoma team could have taken down Georgia or taken down Michigan." Like we will know you've got the best 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 teams in college football, and maybe someone will get screwed being left out here or there, but there will be, it'll finally be settled on the field.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
I know some of the purists and traditionalists, this is ruining college football or it's devaluing the regular season or whatever. I just fundamentally disagree with all of them. It emphasizes, it still emphasizes the importance of conference championships, and it emphasizes the importance of high rankings. Both of those things reinforce the importance of regular season games.
Yes.
Right? Everyone's going to be fighting for their life. I think it's going to be very rare that you get to Thanksgiving weekend and somebody's got something locked up and they're sitting all their starters or something, a la the NFL, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well,
But
you're
also,
right.
like you might brought up Liberty. I mean, they're and I struggle a little bit with like somebody like that getting in. But you think about like the UCFs or like remember like I don't remember what year it was, but when Boise State beat Oklahoma, like upset Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, like there have been these teams over the years, like boy, it'd be kind of fun to see them in a playoff and try to beat the top 5 teams or whatever. So there are those rare occasions. Like I get that. Like I don't want to watch Liberty just get boat raced by like number 5 LSU or something like that, right? Like give me a break. But there are those rare occasions where somebody, maybe they're undefeated and they won whatever Joe Schmo athletic conference, where it would be interesting. It could be interesting.
Yeah. I agree. Like, but the other argument is like, how awesome would that be? Like in one of those scenarios that they won, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. That's like March Madness.
So awesome. Yeah.
Like March Madness, when like we finally had a 16 seed beat a 1 seed. Like it can happen. It's like a 1 in a million, but it can happen, and I want to be there to see it.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, I mean, just watching Liberty just get absolutely demolished in this bowl season was like, okay.
No, that's true. But and guys, I'm just so excited too. And this kind of pertains to the playoff. I guess it kind of pertains to some of the bigger changes that have been happening in college football too. Once you kind of get beyond, I mentioned the sadness of some of the old parts of college football dying and going away. But once you get beyond that, there's so much to be excited about. Like in the new Big Ten, who doesn't want to see, Oregon and Ohio State battling it out in October or something, right? Or, Penn State and Washington, or Nebraska and USC. Like, who doesn't want to see, like, there's going to be all these, and then, transplant that onto the playoff, right? And maybe you'll have some matchups that, teams face, like Bills Chiefs type of stuff that happens in the playoffs every year, where these teams, the same coaches facing each other, the same players facing each other year in and year out. Just the intrigue, the drama, the excitement. It's going to be so awesome. Like, for people who love college football, I honestly believe even the doubters, and I respect that. Like, I get it. Like, we all love the things that made college football great, and some of them going away. Like, it makes me uncomfortable to think about, are we going to get to the point where these guys are just paid by the universities and they have a contract and it's sort of quote unquote NFL light? Like, thinking about that sort of makes me uncomfortable. I don't love that idea. None of us probably love that idea, but I also don't envision there being a day when I don't, we're going to always love seeing those red ends come running out of the tunnel, and we're all going to go crazy. Every fan base is going to go crazy for their team, and the possibilities that this new system opens up, I think, are going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Well, think about talk about being excited. Just think about this. I think we need to be prepared because when the Huskers do make it into the playoff next year,
I mean, we're either
I mean,
24 or 25, one of those two.
Can
we
you
need to-
imagine what it would be like if we got a home game in the
Oh my
middle of
gosh.
December
Oh
for
my
a
gosh.
playoff? Like we've all been to a tailgate at Memorial Stadium just during the regular season. I've never personally been to a Husker bowl game, but I'm sure that atmosphere is electric. But could you imagine the electricity at Memorial Stadium? Not even in the stadium, just
I mean,
outside.
I was going to say the entire city, the entire state will descend upon just the stadium and the whole general area, and everyone will just be there. Yeah, tailgating, watching the
I think
game.
Lincoln would just quit like functioning as like a society for like a day. Like
totally, completely.
The Wild West. Like businesses there'd be looting, just people doing whatever they wanted to as long as we survived. You're on your own. We're here to watch the Husker game.
It would be like that movie, The Purge, or what? Isn't it The Purge? Yeah.
Right.
No crime is illegal for 24 hours. Like basically, like.
I mean, it's practically already like that on Lincoln on a game day on a Saturday playing Buffalo or somebody like
non-football.
It's already ridiculous. Like I can't imagine what it would be like.
Non-football fans just boarding up their houses and hiding in.
Yeah.
It'll be over soon, sweetheart. It'll be over soon.
But guys, just in 2024, I know I've kind of made this point already. Okay, so the first round games, these are the ones on the college campuses, are December 20th, December 21st. That's Friday and Saturday going into Christmas week.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking of, Clark Griswold.
Yeah, think about that.
But with Friday, let's just say Friday, December 20th, last day of the year for me. Sitting there in his office, playing with his model pool, last day of the year for me. And then, you got college football playoffs right into Christmas week, right into New Year's. I mean, this is I think part of what I want to say to people is just embrace it. There's enough stress in the world. There's enough chaos in the world. There's enough crazy things going on in the world. Just have fun with this and embrace it and enjoy it, because God is smiling down on us and giving us this college football playoff.
Gift.
We need to enjoy it for as long as we possibly have it, and as long as we can.
TJ, before you jump to something else, I just had an idea.
I got nothing else, Jeff.
You've brought it up before, but I feel like in the playoff scenario that Nebraska will be getting into, I feel
2024, 2025.
Yeah. If anybody asks you a question like going into that weekend of bowl games and the week of Christmas, your answer should automatically just be that Will Ferrell meme where he cracks the beer. Hey, Dad, are we gonna go?
Are we gonna go get the Christmas tree? I'm unavailable. I'm watching college football.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I got to be honest, guys. This was educational for me. Just searching out these facts. I knew about the 12-team playoff. I knew about sort of the higher seed, on campus first round games, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of new information here. So I encourage common fans there's plenty of articles about it. The NCAA's got something on it, the NCAA website. There's the college football playoff has its own website with information on it. So go check it out if you want to learn more. I think we kind of caught most of the basics. Schedules for 24 and 25 are out, but again, just lots to be excited about. And I'm sure we'll be reminded about all this stuff over and over, going into the season. And then of course, once the season is here, everyone will be talking about how Colorado's on their way until they lose, 3 in a row or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, fellas, that's it for tonight. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Do you guys have anything else?
I am definitely going to be firing up the smoker this week and cooking some sort of certified Piedmontese beef or meat, what have you. That is happening.
Yeah,
I think that's an excellent choice. And we all know Nebraska beef is the best in the world, and so it's time for our college football team to get back on par with Nebraska beef. And certified Piedmontese is certainly a representation of that. So that's an excellent choice, boys. I think we all need to do that this weekend.
Oh yeah, throw a couple ribeyes on the grill.
Woo.
Can't beat it. Beat it.
No, it's America.
USA.
All right, fellow Common fans. Well, thanks for joining us once again. We hope you found this a little bit educational. And now with all the information about, all the Husker recruits and how well they played, and now you've got the details on the playoff, you can start making your holiday plans and your travel plans for 2024 and 2025. Just keep it in the back of your mind that the Huskers may just be there in the playoff sooner than we think. So thanks for joining us, Common fans. As always, TJ Burkle, Matty Owens Sr., Geoff in Lincoln. Have a great night. GBR for life.